was an accident.
In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes.
Unless if your name is Kimberly.
Scoreboard! Scoreboard!
Final Destination. Ah, yes, my favorite horror franchise. That's also not my favorite horror franchise because of all of its untapped potential. Final Destination has made a bombastic return with its sixth film and garnered so much success that a seventh film is approaching.
That's like 100%. Everything you said was true.
Many fans of the franchise have been waiting oh so long for the next installment, and it lived up to our expectations. Those expectations being, well, the deaths themselves. It's all about anticipation. Whether it be a Rube Goldberg death that sets up different pieces that leads to a person's untimely demise, and I swear I've only started to hear Final Destination fans mention Rube Goldberg this year. It can be a fake out death that was hinted at but focused on. This could be either good or poorly executed, or you can have a very quick and shocking death that will be good for a cough gag in a YouTube video. But I've seen people who haven't gone into the franchise, or have seen it from clips online, call it gore slop. A nice Gen Z way of describing it, even though I'd say the first movie tries to lean into less of that. And these people, along with the fans of the franchise, have been repeating the most annoying sentences related to this franchise. That being, what is the point of watching these movies if they all just die in the end? Is it just gore slop? Or rather, another one I've heard is, it's a Final Destination movie. They all die in the end anyways. And, this has always annoyed me because, for one, Final Destination 2 exists, and that movie has two people living to this day. And thank God Bloodlines deconfirmed the whole deleted scene where Kimberly dies to a wood chipper. And also in Final Destination 1, two people live in the end. And two, people have been saying this because the most recent installments have leaned into this notion of killing everyone in the end. That no one can cheat death. And heck, even the directors were swayed into this notion, but we'll get into that later. Yet, the earlier movies gave a bit of hope for the characters living to see another day. And today, we're going to be mentioning a lost aspect of the Final Destination series. It's having a happy or bittersweet ending. Not just for the first movie, as some of you know, but for nearly every installment. What's up, guys? Blazingora, Blora, and let's go into each original ending, or scrapped ending, for Final Destination. The first Final Destination holds a special place in my heart as one of my favorite horror movies, where the franchise wasn't known for its over-the-top kills, but rather endued in a shroud of mystery of what death was, because the force of death wasn't widespread or well-known among audiences at the time. You can clearly tell the first movie has a different vibe of making people feel uneasy, because they don't reveal the main premise of the movie until around 30 minutes. You can spot some of the X-Files parallels in the movie since that was originally supposed to be an X-Files episode. But now I learned some of the details of the original script of Final Destination thanks to Good Bad Flicks video on the film, that I highly recommend you watch after this video. For what I've learned, Jeffrey Reddick, the writer of the first movie, had an early script where Alex was the only one who was meant to live during the plane crash, possibly answering why the visionaries in the series are even giving premonitions in the first place, because they are the only ones that are fated to survive. But that was written out for some reason. And Claire's original name was Kimberly. I'm not sure if they decided to use that name for the FD2 protagonist in reference to the script. Who knows? Alex and Kimberly have a baby because they assume that new life is the only way to beat the Angel of Death, in which Kimberly's soul can't be claimed because she's carrying a soul that isn't on Death's list. And that sounds like the total opposite of the most recent film's plot.
No. That.
Well, don't touch those babies.
But as a twist, once Kimberly has the baby, she still has her soul taken from the Angel of Death in a jump scare ending. The baby is safe as she predicted, but that doesn't mean the angel won't still come for her. That was when the script was just called Flight 180. When James Wong and Glenn Morgan entered into production, many things were changed. There was no Angel of Death, but just a force of nature. Now, Glenn Morgan has to deal with the fact that this series can't sell any Party City... Sorry, it's just so funny reading this. Can't sell any Party City costumes because of that. That's just nice. And for the ending, you can actually find this on YouTube. Alex makes an honorable sacrifice by breaking Death's list and blowing himself up. This in turn saves Claire, Carter, and Alex's newborn baby.
The only way you can really cheat death, or the only way you can really beat death is to bring a new life into the world, because you can't really beat death.
Now, this isn't the same meaning as the original script or Final Destination 2, as in those instances, they were trying to beat death with new life. Here, the writers meant that love beats death, or rather, living your life to the fullest, making something out of your own life. Here, Alex makes his life worthwhile by saving his son and girlfriend's lives, further extending their life for who knows long. His love for Clear beat death, but only temporarily, because they still include the fact that no one beats death in the end. So, you might as well live your life to the fullest. A sentimental ending.
Alex was right. It did skip us. There was a design, and we beat it. We won.
Now that we've won, Carter, there's a chance at a full life. Chance that I am not going to waste. Because for all of us, there is that one day.
So why did they change it? Well, because test audiences didn't like it.
If you were to describe the movie to a friend, what would you say? Gay.
The movie had so many new surprises happening that a bittersweet birth ending was seen as predictable, and a tonal shift for the story. If there's one thing that this franchise does well, it's the death scenes. Like I said in the beginning, anticipation and surprises. When your movie takes a shift to have an ending that doesn't pack a punch, some audiences are going to feel like they were robbed of something greater. They feel indifferent to the ending, and even call it goofy.
Sometimes you can shoot above the taste of an audience, which doesn't mean that you're smart and that they're not so smart, but means that there is a sort of Bible of entertainment which has certain tenets in it, and that this particular idea for the ending just shot above the taste level and the expectation level and the surprise level that the audience was looking for. And this sort of spiritual ending, which had to do with Clear having a child and having the child be the vindication of how you beat death, was perhaps a little too esoteric and not visceral enough for the public that we were trying to attract, which was arguably a postmodern scream crowd.
Esoteric is the right word to describe this, because I really love this ending more than the one we got. It seems like it appeals to people who can accept more of a deeper ending from a movie that introduces the force of death. Despite being a chaotic movie, it still has something meaningful to offer, in which I feel like the first movie is really the only movie in the franchise that can do something like this, because they have these meaningful character interactions between Alex and Clear, and everyone who mourns for their loved ones' deaths. It feels like a different movie than the others, because, well, of course, it's the beginning. This is before Final Destination started a trend. Maybe 3 and Bloodlines can achieve this as well, since they also have some emotional interactions. But in the end, they remove some of these love scenes with Alex and Clear. And the test audiences are just casual movie consumers that aren't expecting a solemn ending. But I'll be honest, after hearing the test audience's responses in the behind the scenes videos for this, I would have kept the ending the same, because oh my gosh, do these people sound ridiculous.
Scenes like least were tit, sex, death.
I know what you did last summer, she said, but it says, I didn't even see it.
Not enough sex.
What did you like best about the movie? Porno scene. There isn't no porno scene.
What did you like least about the movie? The shitting.
What?
Let's go take a shit.
What is holding you back from rating this movie excellent? And it says more pussy. I don't even want to say the next stuff, because this is just disgusting.
So what did they have to change? Make Alex live and Carter die.
That was another thing in the first test. People really didn't like Carter. They didn't like that Carter lived. Why we think it didn't test so well and what was missing. The people didn't like that Alex died. And so in the room, we just started saying, well, how do we fix this? So we decided that we needed to come up with a new ending. We don't want Alex to die at the end, and we want Carter to die.
Let's go completely the opposite of what we had, which was this kind of thoughtful, contemplative ending.
Let's give the audience what they want. They want Alex to live. They want the bad guy to die.
You know, honestly, audiences gotta suck it up and accept when the main character dies, especially if it's like a sacrifice. That's a noble sacrifice. Didn't Titanic come out like 3 years earlier? Also, in my opinion, Carter is the best character in this movie. He goes from an entertaining dickhead that thinks he's hot shit to an emotional wreck that's actually afraid to die, but tries to not show it. And then he eventually becomes nice to Clear and Alex in the end. But nope! Ignore all that character development and kill him because he was a jerk in the beginning. This ending still makes him a nice guy by making us believe that he would go on a trip with Clear and Alex to Paris. so I guess he just became nice to them off screen. And then he warns Alex that he's next and that death might circle back for all of them, and then he saves Alex's life. Like, honestly, what is the point of killing Carter if you're just going to make him even more likable? Also, a minor nitpick, he even says who's next as his last words, even though he mentioned death circling back a few minutes earlier.
Somebody's got to intervene before death can skip death. Alex proved that 3 times. On the plane, with me, with you. For all I know, it could circle back and get us all again. I told you were next. It just skipped me. So who's next?
It's you!
You see, this is why test audiences are a tricky group to listen to. They either give feedback that improves a film or feedback that completely change it for the worse. And they even mention this.
Great filmmakers make movies that don't work. Very experienced people make movies that don't work.
Steven Spielberg doesn't test his movies. You know, we have to, you know, and I think that we should listen.
It's a case-by-case basis if you do exactly what a test audience wants.
Well, in the wrong hands, it's like this is a very dangerous process, and we're very cautious with testing. It's not the be-all and end-all here at New Line. I mean, the first Austin Powers tested horribly. The 7 did not test very well. These are some of our biggest successes.
We're not making this movie for our parents or for our friends. We're making it for as big an audience as we can get. You're not at the mercy of the audience. That's who you're making all this stuff for, is the audience. So if they don't like it, you have a problem. You have to deal with it because that's what you do.
Even if I disagree with the test audience and love the original ending more, it's still a good choice to listen to them because these filmmakers can't risk making a failure and getting fired, even though it still scored 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. Plus, I still really love the theatrical ending because they still make things dramatic and tense all the way to the end, even though I've seen people hate Carter's death being a cut to a black screen. Some people like the original, some people like the new ending. It's all mixed in the fan base. It's a shocking twist that goes back to the original idea that no one can cheat death. And they even include the lines from the deleted ending.
Now that we've won Carter, there's a chance at a full life. A chance that I'm not going to waste.
I think the only thing we won, Carter, is a chance at a full life. A chance that I won't ever waste.
Heck, now that I think about it, why would Death just stop chasing the main cast if they cheat twice? Oh well, you guys won, I'm tired now. Like, some people died out of order on the plane because they got off. And if Alex just does the same thing again, why does it stop? That's another flaw with the original ending. That's a little nitpick. So, now that they accomplished the ending and earned more money for a sequel, surely they'll follow through with the sequel and nothing will backfire. Right? Right?
Suck brick, kid!
Final Destination 2 has nothing changed about its ending. And you can tell it's an early Final Destination movie because some of the main characters actually live in the end. Also, probably because they didn't use test audiences for this movie. Epic foreshadowing. Now, despite the script being the same for the ending, the main characters weren't just going to be Burke, Clear, and Kimberly. No. Alex, from the first movie, was supposed to be in Final Destination 2. Which sucks, because he was my second favorite character from the first movie. Apparently, Devon Sawa didn't return because he said, quote, "I just wasn't really capable of working." Then I took some time out of the business. My agents talked to the producers. They ended up discussing going a different way. Maybe I thought I'd come back for the third, but then it just didn't work out. There were no hard feelings with anybody. I've seen every single movie since I went to a couple of the premieres. And according to an interview with The Independent, Sawa said, "I was burnt out, I was drinking too much, I was partying too much, and so I went back to Vancouver and got sober." Thankfully, Sawa has recovered now and he's been in more recent shows like Chucky. The writer, Jeffrey Reddick, however, was a bit displeased with how things turned out. For Final Destination 2, he originally planned for Alex and Clear to return, with Clear having a baby to save her life but still dying after giving birth, showing that the plan failed, which is similar to the first draft of the first movie when it was called Flight 180. Alex would then be a torchbearer and the person Kimberly turns to for help, making him a legacy character for the franchise. In his words, "I wanted to bring both Alex and Clear back. There were some issues with scheduling and stuff with getting Devon Sawa back, and I got annoyed with how they just killed him off with a brick, which I thought was a big F you." That was really my only complaint with Final Destination 2. Red continues, "If I had them both back, I had always planned on killing Clear. but I wanted to keep Alex alive. I had a cool twist at the end where it still was, she has a life that saves her life, but then death gets her once she has a kid, and Alex is still kind of the torchbearer. That was my original take. But with scheduling stuff, we ended up with no Alex. And I'm like, if I had known we weren't going to bring Alex back, I would have not killed Clear. Because I love bringing original people back, but I don't like killing them. That really sucks, because I've seen a lot of fans also angry at Alex's off-screen death. Like, seriously? A brick? A brick. There have been some people defending this saying, oh, maybe Alex cheated Death so much that Death got pissed off and killed him unceremoniously. And it's just like, dude, this character has avoided death so much that killing him with a brick is just, it's still a lame death. It seems this franchise has a problem with the writers and directors wanting characters to live, but ending up killing them off due to problems out of their own control. On the bright side, since this is an early Final Destination movie and still written by Jeffrey Reddick, Kimberly and Burke live in the end. And this is one of my favorite endings because they introduced a plotline of other people who were supposed to die saving others on death's list. And instead of just killing the main characters in the end, like in, the future endings, every other future ending, they instead killed the boy who was saved by Rory. Classic ending. Now on to the surprisingly fan favorite, Final Destination 3. This movie and future ones were not written by series creator Jeffrey Reddick. Instead, directors of the first movie, James Wong and Glenn Morgan, took the mantle of writing spot and decided to make this movie a standalone title. The original ending of the movie had Ian getting crushed by a cherry picker, and the remaining three characters, Wendy, Kevin, and Julie, crush their camera and walk away thinking that they're safe. But then the camera takes one final picture, hinting that death may still be after them. Ooh. The behind the scenes video basically sums up why people didn't like this abrupt ending.
But when we were cutting it, we knew that the ending didn't work. It just sat there. It didn't seem to address the issue of whether they escaped death or they were alive, because it just happens and it stops and the movie stops. When you watch this very loud, fast, visceral movie, you can't end like that. You just can't end like that. It just doesn't work. It feels off. That screen went pretty well, I thought. It scored better than the first one in the initial thing, but mainly everybody said they hated the ending.
We kind of knew that the ending was flat. And the day before, Craig Perry and Jim Wong, we all got together and, tried to come up with suggestions for what another additional ending might be. Craig says, why don't we kill everybody? And I said, they made me and Willard, we had to reshoot Willard so that Crispin Glover would live. I'm like, they're never gonna let you kill, the nicest, most talented cast we've had in this franchise. And at the theater, they have a focus group where they interview like 20 people. And they go, I liked it. I kind of feel like I've seen it before. The New Line guy says, oh, you know what? I'll tell you what they haven't seen. Kill them all.
I think when you leave three guys still standing and you don't even give them a hint that they're in danger, audiences, they feel gypped. And you're like, why are there three bodies? Why are there three walking, living people in this movie when I really want everyone to die?
I mean, to be fair, the camera flashing in the original ending did signify that they were definitely still in danger. So I'm not sure how he didn't figure that out. But yeah, they just decided to kill them all in the train sequence. Also, Ian gets a better death scene where he flips Wendy off.
I had written both versions, where the one version, she's literally on the track thinking that it's a premonition and trying to wake herself up from the premonition when the train hits her. So not only is it not a premonition, it's, that's it, you're dead. And they all die. And then we added the alternate version, which is, it comes out and it's a premonition, but can they get off? So for me, this alternate way is actually more, open-ended and hopeful, if you can call it that. Let's face it, at the end, we're all defeated by death. It's just a matter of how long you can, stay in the game.
And despite having this open-ended ending reminiscent of the first movie where it cuts to black, there are still people out there that think these characters are still alive. I'm like, no. The writing team wanted them dead. Like, dead. They say this multiple times.
Get rid of them. Kill them all. Wipe them out. I think that's the real surprise people aren't going to expect because they're so used to seeing that extra bit that makes you think, ooh, they're going to come back. Not in this movie. They're dead.
They are dead. It's also nice seeing everyone's mixed reactions to just killing the main characters off. Again, this was in an era where not everyone wanted the central characters of a Final Destination movie to die at the end. But Final Destination 3 changed that for the franchise going forward. And low-key, all the trends this movie introduced makes it one of my least favorites, but that's a topic for another day.
Killing everybody, especially these characters who don't deserve to die, I'm not that high on that. It just seems like a meaner world when you did this 6 years ago, or a meaner United States maybe, that now we're like going, kill them all, better you than me. But, I don't know, that's what it feels like a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of a drag, but, I'm a whore enough to kill them all.
I didn't really mind, whether or not I was gonna die. It's like, if it works for the story, man, kill me. It's all good, I'll do whatever you want.
Well, I think it's important that everyone dies because it adds closure to the whole story, and no one likes to see someone survive, especially Julie,
I really like the fact that we all bite it. I think that's cool. But then, like I said, I was reading, I was like, oh, we die. I was like, oh, shit, oh, well. I kept reading, and then, all of a sudden, it was a premonition. In the past, if we recognized that it was about to go down, we usually changed it. So because I recognized it was going down, and we are on the midst of changing it whenever we end the movie, I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was, I thought it was pretty neat.
I've heard mixed reactions to this ending, but it's mostly positive. Some love the second premonition and the fake out, while others wonder what was the point of having a premonition if it doesn't help them out in the end. I think the point was that not all premonitions can help you avoid death, so, death got the upper hand in the end. I didn't like the ending on first watch, but now I do. Despite being the first standalone Final Destination movie, there were plans to bring back Kimberly into Final Destination 3, with her being Wendy's cousin. And then they both die in the train accident, wrapping up the trilogy. But due to scheduling conflicts with AJ Cook, she was scrapped from the film. She avoided death twice by simply not showing up to film the movie. And if she shows up in Final Destination 7 just for them to kill her off like Clear, I swear this franchise would hit a new low. But nothing lower than the Final Destination was literally made just to cash in on the 3D glasses craze. The original ending for the movie, you can search it up on YouTube. Nick jumps out of a building with a flammable tape, causing an explosion. Both girls get out, they think the chain is broken, a chain actually breaks, and then they get crushed by an AC. Then there's another ending of Nick getting sucked into the escalator. It's bad. The movie's bad. Moving on! Final Destination 5. Now, I got this information from an early script reading from Brie Hart's Horror on TikTok. If you want to see more changes to the script, I recommend watching her videos. Final Destination 5 is most notable for its surprise ending, but what was it like before? Well, most of the changes center around the character Nathan. In the final version of the movie, Nathan pushes his co-worker into a crane that was supposed to kill him, and as a result, he gains his remaining lifespan. In the early draft, however, Nathan works as a chef and the skewer goes into a customer's mouth instead of his. That seems very, very gnarly. Now that he has the customer's remaining life, he goes to their funeral and learns that they had 2 weeks left to live because of cancer. And then, a snapped wire cable lowering the casket cuts him in half. This is similar to the final film. They just made the random customer a co-worker of Nathan's that gets angry with him. The Final Destination wiki also states that there's an ending in which Sam and Molly live, but watch Nathan get crushed by Flight 180's landing gear. But I couldn't find any evidence of this. Now, onto the most recent film.
Good luck.
Final Destination Bloodlines is fresh in everyone's minds right now and is, in my personal opinion, a great Final Destination movie. Not the best, probably tied for like third place, but it's still a very, very good horror movie. It has a great premonition, deaths, characters, a good second act, but man, once that third act started, the movie went extremely downhill for me. It's a criticism that I saw a lot of people mention on release, that the final act and ending felt very rushed. We don't know if this was because of the writer's strike, the SAG-AFTRA strike, or something else, COVID, who knows, but it just felt like a retread of the Final Destination 4 movie, where the characters realize they aren't safe, and then they get killed by logs. Like, the build-up to it, I love, since they realized they didn't do the Kimberly tactic correctly, but man, why does this movie and all of its advertising want to remind me of the freaking logs from Final Destination 2? Like, I get it. When people bring up Final Destination, they always mention being afraid of log trucks. It's popular. But holy shit, I hear that phrase so much that I genuinely question why they don't mention anything else that's scary in Final Destination 2. Like, do people only remember the logs from Final Destination 2? There's like 10 different scarier things in that movie. And Final Destination 6 kept showing log trucks in their marketing. They do a fake out with the truck in the final act, and then they kill Stefani and Charlie with them. Which, by the way, the CGI, in my opinion, it looks horrible. And having log trucks come out of a train doesn't even seem scary. It just looks goofy in hindsight. Like, look at that blood. The blood looks like gelatin. It looks like they're getting squashed like freaking jam and juices. I don't know. Hell, I don't even find log trucks that scary since I live up north and I know that log trucks don't bounce. They roll.
We did a test to first drop the logs just to see what the hell dropping, 4,000-pound logs would look like. It's scary, but they kind of fall off and then they go sliding off the road. The logs don't bounce and drop the way that we needed them to dramatically set up the rest of the sequence.
This whole movie feels like it's in love with Final Destination 2, with having an entire act take place in the hospital, having the logs, or even trying to do the resuscitation technique. I like the build-up, but the ending still felt rushed. But what if I told you there was a different ending planned for the movie? According to Adam Stein, quote, I think one of the earlier drafts of the script ended with Stefani making it inside the cabin, and then basically ended with her, that she's going to live the rest of her life in the cabin to protect Charlie. It sort of had this depressing feeling in the end. It was like, oh, okay, I get it. She's the new Iris. She's going to live her whole life in the cabin to protect her little brother. It kind of emotionally made sense, but not in terms of the movie-going experience. It kind of ended on a sad, melancholy note, which just didn't feel right for Final Destination. You kind of want people to leave with a spring in their step and a smile on their face. And so we went through lots of different versions, with the key thing being unpredictability. How do you make people think they know what's going to happen and then twist it, while also leaving them with a smile on their face when they leave the theater? So it's a lot of tricky things to balance there, but yeah, we definitely explored lots of possibilities. So yeah, they changed the ending. Not because it wasn't in tone with the movie, just like the first entry, but because it didn't fit in the tone of what the franchise was. Honestly, I would have preferred this ending of the movie because it dealt with the theme of cycles, passing down the torch, legacy, or well, Bloodlines. It's a movie about family and probably the best Final Destination movie when it comes to emotional connections with the characters. I would have just wanted something new for the franchise and probably an ending where the protagonists win, just like Final Destination 2. But making it somewhat of a false victory because Stefani never truly beats death. It just makes you go crazy. Seeing is believing. I would still rewrite this ending to have some unpredictability while keeping the original aspect. Somewhat of mixing the ending that we got and keeping the cabin ending. Best of both worlds. It's just that after waiting 14 years for a new Final Destination, I and many others were dreading them doing another ending where they just kill off everyone because we've seen it so many times already. Like we were just thinking, we don't want everyone to die in the end. We don't want this to just be the trend from the third movie going on. Final Destination 5 added a unique twist to it, but having a sixth movie do the same thing just because the false consensus of these movies is, they all die in the end, just makes things very tiring for me. Especially when the first two movies don't have everyone die in the end. And also, especially because this is, the most emotional Final Destination movie yet. I really do love these characters. Amstein also adds, quote, well, we knew there needed to be logs somewhere in the movie. Every time from the time we got hired, whenever anyone talked to us about Final Destination, the first thing they said is logs. And we're like, there needs to be logs in this movie. How do you do it in a way that feels earned and feels like it does justice to the iconic diva that has the logs? And from reading that, my opinion on this movie has been solidified. That certain bits of Bloodlines honestly felt like it was written by a fan rather than a real writer. That's not really a bad thing because, this movie it's a legacy movie, but, sometimes it just feels a bit too humorous for Final Destination, a bit too on the nose, or a bit too meta. Again, it's still a good movie, but, logs! We gotta have the logs! Shove it in my face all the time, I get it! I get the joke! Okay? Nonetheless, I love Bloodlines, and I hope the 7th Final Destination movie breaks free from the trend of just, killing everyone that was set from the third movie. Do something unique, Don't just, retread everything. With the sixth movie, I get it. You know, this is a Final Destination for new audiences, you know, new generation. But, you know, you could always break free from that. You could always do something new. You don't have to just, you know, have everyone get crushed in the end and be like, oh, it's a Final Destination movie. You know, you expected it. You know, that's the whole thing about Final Destination. Unpredictability, you know? Don't have everyone expect that everyone dies in the end. You know, just do something new. That's all I ask for. Do something new. Or if you're gonna kill everyone, just do something unique like Final Destination 5. Happy Halloween, and keep that aura blazing.
Gay.